Conspiracy Theories Week 5. The Royals. Page 1. Welcome to Week 5. In this module, we examine a super elite group of those famous individuals discussed in Week 3. This week's focus on the Royals, ultra-privileged people who are lucky enough to be born into fame and, in most cases, fortune. Why are we obsessed with the secret lives and lies of royalty? For the same psychological reasons already examined, that we are preoccupied with fame itself. In this module, dealing with royals and royal blood, we find some of the most renowned conspiracy theories in the field, including Jesus and the Da Vinci Code, Jack the Ripper, and of course, the Princess Diana conspiracy theories. If our examination of the royals is any indication, it seems that the more elite you are, the wilder the conspiracy theories. In our conspiracy theories about, for example, the royals of Britain, we find everything from secret vampires to reptilian aliens who hide their true appearance beneath human masks. Like I said, weird and wild. Fasten your seatbelts. Let's turn this down a little bit for you guys. Booyah. Picture of Queen Elizabeth, Game of Thrones. Queen Elizabeth II, looking particularly ominous. Page 2. The Royals. A picture of the British royal family, and a picture of Diana, the Princess of Wales. We do not tend to concoct grand conspiracy theories about the postman on our street or the television repairman at the mall, although some of us might do so. Conspiracy theories are usually about people that we believe to be very important people, and who is more important in many countries on this planet than the royals. We are not surprised, then, to learn that some of the most famous and controversial conspiracy theories have kings, queens, princesses, and dukes as their subject matter. This is perhaps due to our apparently universal cultural obsessions with people whom we deem to be more important than we are and, in some way, superior to us. Why do we revere regal or famous people that we believe are more important than we are? Is this a genetic predisposition of humanity encoded in our genetic structure? Is it a remnant from a childhood admiration for our parents, as Sigmund Freud would suggest? And it's not. Yeah, give me something chill. I'm feeling that. Here's my water. Hold on. I'm waiting for the beat. Analyses of such universal, hierarchical tendencies, parent-child relationships, or dominant-submission transferences then are required research for any good conspiracy theorist. Clearly, in human cultures, members of royal families who have been involved in mysterious events or who have died mysteriously fall into this realm of conspiracy theories. Most people consider members of their royal families to be the extreme elite of human society, since they are extremely famous, extremely powerful, and extremely wealthy. In addition to this, whether or not their claims are substantial, royals tend to make claims that their ancestry can be tracked back many generations to the time of some renowned historical, royal, or religious figure. Thus, we even believe that royals are genetically superior to us, even though the kinds of inbreeding, resulting in certain genetic defects, in which many royal families have engaged throughout history would result in quite the opposite. Royalty is an elevated state of earthly existence that is by no means limited to Great Britain. Photo of Emperor Akihito of Japan. Page 3. Coburg family values. Quote, "Sure, the royal family may be a group of austere palace dwellers now, but their roots are far from Buckingham. In fact, they're closer to the fields of Germany. In the early 20th century, the Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld family went from ruling a small and consequential German fiefdom to presiding over 13 royal families, all thanks to the scheming of Leopold Coburg and Augusta, his mother. In the Coburg conspiracy, author Richard Sotnick theorizes how the Coburgs could have pulled off such a meteoric ascension to power. It began, he says, with one key marriage of Leopold to the daughter of the Prince Regent, orchestrated by the Henry Higgins-esque Mother Coburg, who groomed her family to act and become aristocrats, suggesting that kings and queens are made, not born." Retrieved from True TV, August 2012. Sounds like Adam ruins everything. I don't know why they didn't quote that more coherently. Conspiracy, like the Borgias, or merely the opportunistic kind of upper-class scheming we've seen on TV shows like Downton Abbey. It is difficult to argue that the titanic rise of the Coburgs is a bona fide conspiracy theory, since this kind of political marriage arrangement has always been acknowledged to be a part of what royals do to get ahead. Were Mother Coburg's actions and plots any more outrageous than those of Maggie Smith's Dowager Countess Downton Abbey? Was there truly a conspiracy to make this all come about? Or was it just the simple marry-to-get-ahead blueprint of a cunning noblewoman? The thoroughly British royal family that has come to represent the epitome of all that is English was, in the recent past, a German noble family of little influence. But everybody knows that ultimately selling the product of the masses is simply a case of rebranding. Quote, "Due to anti-German sentiment in the United Kingdom during World War I, George V of the United Kingdom changed the name of this branch from Saxe-Coburg to Gotha to Windsor in 1917. Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, wiki. No conspiracy theory here, it's a fact. However, perhaps somehow related to the fact that the British royals were, as little as 100 years ago, actually a German family, is the allegation by conspiracy theorists that some royal family members were Nazi sympathizers. Quote, "When Prince Harry jokingly donned a Nazi uniform in 2005, he may not have known he was saluting his ancestors. In 1938, King Edward VIII abdicated the throne when he chose marriage to a twice-divorced American over the crown. Or so we've been told. Blogger Ryan Paul and other observers believe that he stepped down due to his Nazi sympathies, having developed friendly relations with Hitler, and that his behind-the-scenes support continued long after he was dethroned. In 1995, the Washington Times revealed that Edward, later the Duke of Windsor, communicated with Nazis in both Spain and Portugal with the intent to ruin Churchill, depose of his brother, King George VII, and regain the throne. I'm sorry, excuse me. Edward and George. I thought they were both named the same thing. Soon after that alleged leakage, Edward was relocated to the Bahamas, where he would be less of a threat to national safety. Retrieved from True TV, August 2012. There's a picture here of the sun showing Prince Harry in a Nazi uniform, I believe. Still, this allegation remains unproven. What is proven, however, is that, up until his recent marriage, Prince Henry remained a PR nightmare, with his 2012 Naked in Las Vegas photo scandal still much in the public memory. Recent family photo, lol, showing the entire royal family with Prince Harry naked. Page 4. Jesus conspiracy theories. Here we go. Picture of the man himself. Jesus is the subject of numerous CTs. Though not technically a king of any nation, Jesus and any theories pertaining to him are usually lumped into the category of royal theories, as 1/3 of the Earth's population consider him to have been the king of kings. Perhaps this classification is appropriate. The Jesus bloodline theory, made popular in works by Dan Brown and other populist authors, is perhaps the most prominent of the Jesus conspiracy theories. A Jesus bloodline is a hypothetical sequence of lineal descendants of the historical Jesus and Mary Magdalene, or some other woman usually portrayed as his alleged wife or Herodule. Differing and contradictory versions of a Jesus bloodline hypothesis have been promoted by numerous books, websites, and films of nonfiction and fiction in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, which have almost all been dismissed as works of pseudo-history and conspiracy theory. According to a vast majority of professional historians and scholars from related fields, there is no historical, biblical, apocryphal, archaeological, genealogical, or genetic evidence which supports this hypothesis. Hypothetical Jesus bloodlines should not be confused with the biblical genealogy of Jesus or the historical relatives of Jesus and their descendants, who are known as Deposnei. Jesus Bloodline Wiki. A picture of the Da Vinci Code book. The Da Vinci Code. In works such as that of Dan Brown, The Da Vinci Code, 2003, the idea has been posited that the object known as the Holy Grail has, for 2 millennia, been a misunderstood concept, and the real Sangreal or Sangreal was a term actually referring in French to royal blood, sang royal. According to Dan Brown's novel, The Secret of the Holy Grail, as kept by the Priory of Sion, are as follows. The Holy Grail is not a physical chalice, but a woman named Mary Magdalene, who carried the bloodline of Christ. The old French expression of the Holy Grail, Sangreal, is actually a play on sang real, which literally means royal blood in Old French. The Grail relics consist of the documents that testify to the bloodline as well as to the actual bones of Mary Magdalene. The Grail relics of Mary Magdalene were hidden by the Priory of Sion in a secret crypt, perhaps beneath the Rosslyn Chapel. The church has suppressed the truth about Mary Magdalene and the Jesus bloodline for 2,000 years. This is principally because they fear the power of the sacred feminine in and of itself, because that would challenge the primacy of St. Peter as an apostle. Mary Magdalene was of royal descent through the Jewish house of Benjamin, and was the wife of Jesus of the house of David. That she was a prostitute was slander invented by the church to obscure their true relationship. At the time of crucifixion, she was pregnant. After the crucifixion, she fled to Gaul, where she was sheltered by the Jews of Marseille. She gave birth to a daughter named Sarah. The bloodline of Jesus and Mary Magdalene became the Merovingian dynasty of France. The existence of the bloodline was the secret that was contained in the document discovered by the Crusaders after they conquered Jerusalem in 1099. See Kingdom of Jerusalem. The Priory of Sion and the Knights Templar were organized to keep the secret. Da Vinci Code, Wiki. Ultimately, it is essential to note that Dan Brown is a novelist, a writer of fiction, and the Priory of Sion is, in no small part, a hoax that just keeps getting up and walking around like a cyborg in a Schwarzenegger film. The quote, "The Priory of Sion myth has been exhaustively debunked by journalists and scholars as one of the great hoaxes of the 20th century. Some skeptics have expressed concern that the proliferation and popularity of books, websites, and films inspired by this hoax have contributed to the problem of conspiracy theories, pseudo-history, and other confusions becoming more mainstream." Priory of Sion, Wiki. Here's a trailer for the Da Vinci Code movie, which I'm not going to watch. Page 5. Reptilians. Now we're talking. A picture of a velociraptor exiting a queen skin suit with a zipper heading down the dead center of her front. Undoubtedly, the most outrageous royal conspiracy theory that has been proposed by David Icke. Icke asserts that, in his book, The Biggest Secret, that the royal family and many powerful politicians are shape-shifting reptilians. Humanoid lizards descending from reptilian astronauts, the Draco who bred with humans many thousands of years ago. The hybrid descendants, reptoids, he claims populate most of the royal families in the world today and are among our top politicians. Thus, they are in control of our planet. Above photo, Donald Trump at a recent press conference in Icke's view. He's been photoshopped to become a lizard. Quote, "According to David Icke, the royal family are actually 12-foot-long green extraterrestrials, shape-shifting lizards, but he has quite a following for his belief. The former BBC sports presenter has sold thousands of books claiming humanity is actually under the control of dinosaur-like alien reptiles who must consume human blood to maintain their appearance. Icke, 59, claims to have taped an interview with Christine Fitzgerald, a confidant of Princess Diana, saying Diana had told her that royals don't die but are metamorphosized by rebuilding flesh, much in the same manner that a lizard regrows a tail." Bleckley, 2012. Page 6. Vampires. According to Bleckley, there's a theory that asserts that the queen is not a reptilian because she is, in fact, a vampire. Quote, which I would love to start, but the beat died, so we all get to wait. And you're gonna like it. Look at this fucking pond. Those ducks. Yeah, fucking ducks. Quote, "Have you ever wondered why the queen always wears such big hats? It's because she's related to Vlad the Impaler, aka Count Dracula. And you know how vampires hate the daylight. Some of the nuttier conspiracy theorists do actually believe the monarch is a bloodsucker. So they were beside themselves with delight last year when Prince Charles actually admitted the Windsors are descended from the 15th century Romanian warlord who inspired the Bram Stoker's novel. But the royals do like garlic, which sticks a stake through the heart of that story." Bleckley, 2012. Page 7. Jack the Ripper. Most gruesome conspiracy theories involving royals are those concerning Jack the Ripper. Quote, "Queen Victoria's grandson, Prince Albert Victor, known as Prince Eddie, was second in line to the throne and not very popular. He was said to be bisexual, consorted with prostitutes, and allegedly had an affair with a Roman Catholic shopgirl who bore his child. When Jack the Ripper began terrorizing London in 1888, Prince Eddie was suspected. But in the 1970s, the rumors took off. Dr. Thomas Stowell found papers left by Queen Victoria's physician who had treated Prince Eddie for syphilis. Stowell believed the killer, never named but clearly identified as the prince, went mad and took revenge on women for his illness. Records show that the prince was not in London when 3 murders were committed, but were they faked?" Bleckley, 2012. Another Jack the Ripper theory was asserted by Stephen Knight in his 1976 book, Jack the Ripper, The Final Solution. Quote, Knight's presented an elaborate conspiracy theory involving the British royals, Freemasonry, and the painter Walter Sickert. He concluded that the victims were murdered to cover up a secret marriage between the heir of the throne. Thank you for dying on me. No, we're back. We got it. I believed. And we're here. Together. I'm so glad to share this with you. Drop a bass line. Come on. Hit the drum. He concluded the victims were murdered to cover up a secret marriage between the heir of the throne, Prince Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence and Avondale, and Anne Elizabeth Crook, a working-class girl. There are many facts that contradict Knight's theory, and his main source, Joseph Gorman, also known as Joseph Sickert, later retracted the story and admitted to the press that it was a hoax. Most scholars dismiss the theory as a fantasy, and the book's conclusion is now widely discredited. Jack the Ripper, The Final Solution, Wiki. However unjustified or false, the Jack the Ripper royal theory went on to become perhaps the greatest royal conspiracy of the modern age. Jack the Ripper was the subject of a 1988 TV series, Jack the Ripper, starring Michael Caine, produced to coincide with the 100th anniversary of the Whitechapel murders. It was the basis for Bob Clark's 1978 film A Murder by Decree, and also for Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell's graphic novel From Hell, which was made in a Hughes Brothers film, 2001, starring Johnny Depp. In 2276, Jack even murdered his way into the Star Trek universe. The subject matter of the TOS episode, Wolf in the Fold. See Memory Alpha for the complete synopsis of Robert Bloch's Wolf in the Fold, 1967. One thing is for certain, due to his sheer horror value and the collective psyche, we may expect old Jack to remain with us for centuries to come. I got through it eventually, don't get mad at me. Page 8. Bilderbergers. Quote, in the void created by such aloofness, an extraordinary conspiracy theory has grown up around the group that alleges the fate of the world is largely decided by Bilderberg. Duffy, 2004. Any number of conspiracy theory blogs have been written about royals, particularly Prince Philip and their involvement with the top secret think tank known as the Bilderberg Group. See Week 12, Secret Societies. Quote, ordinary people can only guess at the goings-on of the Bilderberg Group, which meets behind closed doors each year so the world's financial and political elite can hold discussions in secret. Previous attenders include Bill Gates, Tony Blair, Bill Clinton, and Henry Kissinger. And the fact that Prince Charles and Prince Philip have gone to the James Bond-style summits before got the conspiracy theorists in a tiz. They accuse the group of everything from deliberately engineering the credit crunch to planning to kill 80% of the world's population. Blackley, 2012. A picture of Prince Bernhard. Numerous conspiracy theorist websites include unsubstantial claims that Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands, one of the Bilderberg's founders, allegedly conspired with Britain's Prince Philip founding the World Wildlife Fund as a front for their actual plans to begin world depopulation. These noble families are behind most, if not all, of the so-called pro-environmental movements that are actually intended to curb them. I should have said quote before this because that's insane. Quote, these noble families are behind most, if not all, of these so-called pro-environmental movements that are actually intended to curb the population growth of all nations. Prince Philip and Prince Charles are the most visible symbols of this movement, and are a true part of this conspiracy to destroy industry and take the world back to a new dark age. Penrith, 2004. Note the quotations marks around the word noble, plus the bold and capital letters used by the author, in case he didn't quite have our attention. Page 9. Assassinations. Oh, we're getting sad music for it. I wish it had a beat. Thank you, Wish Fairy. Conspiracy theories of which royals are the subject matter involve a wide range of different conspiracy theory genres. From foul play to high crimes to treason to malicious manipulation of certain racial groups to assassinations. Indeed, a quick survey of a list of assassinations and assassination attempts reveals that the most incidents involve royals, or at the very least high-ranking politicians. It has long been posited that in 320 BC, Alexander the Great conspired with his mother Olympias to murder his father, Philip II of Macedon. Philip had just remarried and would undoubtedly have produced an heir who would aspire to the throne. Immediately after the assassination, Philip's assassin was murdered on the spot. Conspiracy theorists suggest that this was in order to silence him, just as Oswald was killed shortly after the Kennedy assassination. One conspiracy that is not merely theory, but actual conspiracy, to use Pipe's distinction, was that concerning the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. A must-see vid about Franz Ferdinand at the beginning of World War I, a shot that changed the world, with Indy Nadell. Quote, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, Archduke of Austria Est. The title's so long I ran out of beat. I'll get him on the next one. Come on, Franz, you and me. Bring it on. Quote, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, Archduke of Austria Est and Austria-Hungary, and Royal Prince of Hungary and of Bohemia, heir apparent to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife, Sophie, Duchess of Honenberg, were shot dead in Sarajevo? How do you pronounce that J? By Gavrilo Princip, one of the group of 6 Bosnian Serbs assassins coordinated by Danilo Ilic. Wiki. This heinous assassination started a chain of events that precipitated World War I. I'll watch that video later. Page 10. Princess Diana. Undoubtedly, the most publicized of all royal assassination conspiracy theories is that of Diana, Princess of Wales, in a car chase through a Paris tunnel, in which her chauffeur-driven vehicle fled from paparazzi. Diana and her consort, Dodi Fayed, were tragically killed. Conspiracy theorists, including Dodi Fayed's own father, Mohammed Al Fayed, insist that Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, of the British royal family, had Prince Charles' ex-wife Diana killed in a plot devised by MI6 agents. The most vocal proponent of this theory continues to be Al Fayed himself, who recently financed a documentary outlining the details of the theory. Unfortunately, the film was unable to secure the insurance necessary to avoid the massive lawsuits by royals that it would undoubtedly attract. Ooh. I like it when they start with a beat. That's good. Al Fayed's allegations have been many and complex, and he proved to be the greatest of Diana's conspiracy theorists during the 2008 investigation. Quote, in a written statement he read before the packed benches of Room 73 in the Royal Courts of Justice. Fuck, this is slow. And under questioning by the inquest coroner and counsel, Fayed repeated his central claim that what caused the high-speed impact were the pillar in the Pont de Alma tunnel beside the Seine was not, as lengthy official inquiries by the French and British authorities found, that the Mercedes car was traveling at excessive speeds and driven by a man who had been drinking heavily. but a conspiracy led by Prince Philip, the now 86-year-old husband of Queen Elizabeth, and executed by the British and French secret intelligence services with help from the CIA. But this time, Faye had added a new co-conspirator, Prince Charles, Diana's divorced husband and the 59-year-old heir to the British throne, who Faye had said had participated in the plot so that he could marry his crocodile wife, the former Camilla Parker Bowles, who became the Duchess of Cornwall when she wed the prince in 2005. For the first time, Faye said that he based his claim that Diana was pregnant at the time of her death on a telephone call in which the princess told him so, an hour before the couple left the Ritz Hotel on a brief journey that ended with a crash. Burns, 2008. Undoubtedly, the most controversial evidence cited by conspiracy theorists are Diana's own words. In a letter to her assistant and friend, Paul Burrell, "This particular phase in my life is most dangerous. My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure, and serious head injury in order to make the path clear for him to marry Tiggy, the Bork. Camilla, Parker Bowles, is nothing but a decoy. So we are all being used by the man in every sense of the word." In spite of persistent allegations and theories, in 2008, Scotland Yard concluded its investigation, Operation Paget, of the tragic car crash. Well, that's okay. Hopefully we can get something with a little bit of a faster beat, ideally. In spite of persistent we read that. They concluded there was no foul play. All allegations made since the crash of conspiracy were without foundation, and all the evidence obtained point to the deaths being the result of a tragic accident. To the frustration and dismay of Dodi's father, a persistent and powerful conspiracy theorist, Lord Stevens said, 3 people tragically lost their lives in the accident and 1 was seriously injured. Many more have suffered from the intense scrutiny, speculation, and misinformed judgments in the years that have followed. I very much hope that all the work we have done and the publication of this report will help bring some closure to all who continue to mourn the deaths of Diana, Prince of Wales, Dodi Al-Fayed, and Henri Paul. Emery, 2012. Page 11. Definitions. Inbreeding, Jesus Bloodline, Dan Brown, Holy Grail, The Da Vinci Code, Priory of Sion, Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, Saxe-Coburg, David Icke, Reptilian, Stephen Knight, Jack the Ripper, The Final Solution, Bob Clark, Murder by Decree, Alan Moore, you're gonna lose me the beat right now. Alright, whatever. Thank you all for listening. I'll see you next week. Might be a little earlier.